Hey guys, it's Jensen. Let's talk about what I've been reading this week. So, quick update on Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. I've decided to put this one down for now, just because if you missed my last video, I just got a bunch of books from the library, and I'd really like to focus on those since they will be due soon. This book I own, so I can pick it up anytime, and I didn't get that far into it, so it should be easy to pick up where I left off. So, yeah, this one's just going away for now. So this week I also started The Making of a Chef by Michael Ruhlman. I'm only on page 9, so not far into it at all. However, it is really, really good so far. It reminds me a lot of a book I read last year, Garlic and Sapphires by Ruth Rachel. Ruth Rachel is a food critic, and she wrote for the New York Times for a little bit, and then I think she was the editor for Gourmet magazine. So Garlic and Sapphires was her sort of memoir working for the New York Times and writing reviews. So this book is very reminiscent of that. It has a very journalistic, technical style. It's very knowledgeable about food and about the process of making food. So it's really interesting so far. I am really liking it. I am hoping that it will be a delicious foodie book as well as help me learn some things about cooking. So yeah, I'm excited to read more of this one. I'm also still reading My Reading Life by Pat Conroy. I am almost done. I feel like I only have a few chapters left. I'm on page 252. Still loving it. Still great. I love the writing. This is a book that really inspired me when I was in high school, and I picked it up for the first time. It really inspired me as a young writer because of his way with words. It's very beautiful, very well structured. It's definitely not for everyone, but if you are someone who can enjoy flowery prose, this is definitely one of my favorites. And even though I'm not super into flowery, beautiful writing anymore, I feel like this one still holds up really well for me. And yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I love reading his thoughts on the books that he's read throughout his life and how they have impacted him as a writer. I'm on his section right now about Thomas Wolfe, that I've never read, but it's just interesting seeing the different books that have inspired him as a writer. So yeah, still enjoying it. Hopefully I'll finish it today or soon, probably sometime this week, so that I will have read it again, because I feel like what happens a lot of the time is I'll pick this book up. I mentioned that I pick this book every year or so and just read it for a little bit, and I have a hard time getting to the end just because I'll move on to other things. So I'm hoping to finally have read this again, just to make sure that it's still a favorite of mine, which it is so far. So yeah. And finally, the only book that I finished this week was 19 Minutes by Jodi Picoult. Oh, you guys, it was so good, but it was a tough hang. It was tough to get through. For those who don't know what this is about a high school shooting in a small town. At the end of it, the perpetrator is captured and he is awaiting trial. And the judge on the case, her daughter, was a witness. She's a very important witness in the trial, but she cannot remember anything. So you're trying to figure out what's going on, what happened, what led him to do this, all that. It is very heavily inspired by the Columbine shooting, I feel like. I have read Columbine by Ed Cullen many times, so I didn't think this was going to be that hard for me to get through, but it's a tough read. But there is definitely some heavy inspiration, and if you're familiar with the things that happened in the aftermath of Columbine, there are a lot of heavy references to that stuff she takes straight from true events. So that was interesting to see in this book. Basically, this book is there's a lot of really, really cruel things that happen. There's a heavy focus on bullying, and those parts were so hard for me to get through. Even as someone who was not very much, I wasn't bullied in high school. I was just sort of a loner. People just sort of left me alone. I had friends. I didn't really have to deal with the stuff that some of the characters have to deal with in this book, and it's really, really tough to get through. There was one point where one kid was bullied, and I just started crying because it was so mean and so hurtful what happened. And I turned to my husband and I was like, I don't think I can get through this book. And I only had about a little over 100 pages left. So I'd spent a lot of, this is not a thin book. So I had dedicated a lot of time to it, but I almost put it down because I didn't think I was going to be able to get to the end. But I pushed through it. It's really good. I like how she can juggle the multiple perspectives because it doesn't focus on just one person. It tells the stories of several people in this book, and she'll shift focus on the different characters and what's going on in their minds. It's a very omniscient third person writing, and so I appreciated that we got to explore everyone else's mind. But it was a tough read, and I did like it. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I took off a star because I felt like the twist in the end didn't quite work for me. It didn't quite make sense, but this was still great. It felt very true. And I even though the cruel, horrible things that happen in this book were hard to read, I appreciate that she put them in there because it made the book feel more genuine. So this was good, but there's a lot of triggering stuff, particularly when it comes to bullying and violence. And so if you're sensitive to that, I wouldn't recommend picking it up. But yeah, really well written, really well done by Jodi Picoult. I have not read any of her other books, but I may now. So this week I also discovered ThriftBooks, which is an online bookstore. This video isn't sponsored or anything, but I thought I would give my thoughts on my experience with ThriftBooks because I've been really impressed so far. This week I wanted to go to my local bookstore since they just recently reopened, but I wanted to get a lot of books and I realized it was going to be really expensive, and so I thought about trying out ThriftBooks because I've heard of them before. I looked at their website and was really impressed with the fact that like free shipping on an order over $10, which is super easy to do. The prices were really cheap, and I have received 4 of the 7 books that I ordered. I got Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. I got The Portrait of a Lady by Henry James, and Le Morte d'Arthur by Sir Thomas Malory. Yes. And The Collected Stories of Eudora Welty. So quick review. I know like this cover is not the prettiest. Some of them have like yellowing pages. They do look well loved. If you're okay with that, which I am, they're a great deal. It was only like tops $4 for each of these books, and these are books that I've been wanting to read. So I'm really impressed, and I placed my order on Monday and they got to me yesterday, and I'm still waiting for the 3 other books, but I think that's more USPS's fault than ThriftBooks. So really impressed with them so far. The quality is, they're used books, so they are worn and well loved. But if you're looking for cheap books and you want to buy all of the things, then I recommend them. And immediately after I made my order, I got a bunch of emails with like, I think a 15% off coupon, and I got a credit for a free book that's under $5. So yeah, they're awesome so far. I love them. I may never go back to Amazon. So these are the books that I've been reading this week. These are the books that I will continue to read next week. Thank you so much for watching this video. I post videos every Wednesday and Sunday, and I'll see you next time. Bye.